Hey guys, welcome back to Soulmates Cooking. Today we're going to go over our top tips for searing scallops. When you go out to a restaurant, you order scallops and they're seared correctly, it's so much more enjoyable. So we're going to take our time today, we're going to go through each step, talk about what you do, but more importantly, why you do it, and you'll be searing scallops like a pro in no time. I promise you. Let's go. Okay guys, the first tip we have for you is purchasing. Which scallops do you buy? You want to buy large, dry sea scallops, because you could get large sea scallops that are wet and they're in this kind of milky substance. If you can only find those, you can go ahead and use them, but you really need to dry them well. You don't want the little bay scallops. They're great for things like salad or you put them in a risotto or something, but if you want to sear scallops, large, dry sea scallops are the scallops you want to purchase. So once you purchase your large, dry sea scallops, when you're getting ready to prepare these, remove the abductor muscle, this other muscle that hangs off the side of the scallop. So you just want to gently just take that off. This, I don't care how you cook it, it's going to be like eating a piece of bubble gum. So you don't want that. Be gentle, okay? Scallops are very delicate. If you just rip this off without trying to be gentle, you probably rip the scallop in half. Okay guys, the next tip that's super important here, and it's not just for scallops, is to temper the food before you sear it in your pan. Okay, what that means is I have my cold scallops here, but I've let them sit out on the counter for 30 minutes or so, and now they're room temperature. Because if I put all these cold scallops in a pan that's heated to the proper temperature, I now drop the temperature of that pan by a significant level. Instead of searing the food, you release liquid from the food that pulls up, and now you're kind of simmering in a little bit of the scallop juice, and they come out white and usually chewy. So leave them out on the counter for 30 minutes or so, let them get to room temperature, and then move to the next step. Use this tip for anything. If you're searing chicken or searing a steak, you never want to pull it from the fridge and put it right into the pan. You're going to drop the temperature of the pan and you're going to ruin your sear. All right, once the scallops, you've removed the abductor muscle, we've tempered the scallops. Now we want to dry the scallops. This is really important. Again, if I have a hot pan and I have a lot of moisture on the food that I'm putting in the pan, that moisture is going to mix in with whatever fat I'm cooking in. You're not going to get the sear that you want. I'm just going to use a paper towel. All right, I'm going to take my scallops, folding my paper towel over, and I'm just going to pat them dry. Just want to make sure that surface has no moisture on it. Let's do one more round, okay? We'll get a fresh round of paper towels. I've seen people that get really worked up about this part, and they get a hair dryer and they hair dry the surface of the scallop. I mean, if you want to do that to try to impress folks, go ahead, but I don't think you need to do that. Okay, once we have them dry, we'll transfer them back over to our plate here. Now, as I said in the beginning, if by chance you cannot find dry packed sea scallops and you have to get the wet scallops that are in that milky substance, I would probably take them and put them in the strainer, let the excess drip through, and then you probably want to do 3 or 4 rounds with the paper towels and really dry them off. But these will be a little easier to deal with, but you could get the wet scallops there if you have to. All right guys, the next thing we're going to do is talk about pan and the proper amount of heat. I'm using a stainless steel pan. This is one of my favorite types to cook on. So stainless steel and cast iron, I would say, are the top two. Copper, great as well. I usually shy away from a nonstick pan when I'm trying to get a really good Maillard reaction, a really good sear on scallops, chicken, shrimp, fish, whatever it is we're cooking. And as far as heat, we're going to go at about medium-high heat, and we're going to let the pan get to the right temperature. Okay, we want to make sure that we heat this pan up properly. Medium-high heat, let it come to temperature. Let's give it a few minutes. All right, while our pan's heating up, this is a tip that we would put on every recipe. Make sure that you season your food. Scallops are no exception. Nice and high, get good distribution, pepper, kosher salt on both sides of these scallops. All right, that's it, nice and simple. These are ready to go in the pan when we're ready. All right guys, this stainless steel pan is coming up to temperature. Let me show you just a real quick method. You grab some water, drop it in the pan, you see how that all marbles up? The surface is so hot, it's evaporating some of the water, but it's not evaporating all of it, so it creates this layer. The water sort of bounces around. It's actually mesmerizing. If you ever played Pong in the 70s, this is a darn good time. Let's move on to cooking fat. What am I going to cook this in? I'm using clarified butter today, because clarified butter has a really high smoke point. Clarified butter, you're taking all the milk solids out. The milk solids actually what burns. Avocado oil is great. Grapeseed oil, those are fats that are going to give you a really high smoke point, and that way it will not burn while we're cooking. Clarified butter is ready. We have our scallops that we've seasoned. We're going to make sure we get good contact with the pan. Don't be afraid to push them down a little bit. And our next tip, while I'm cooking these, really important to remember. Do not overcrowd the pan. This is a mistake we see people make quite often, where they'll try to cook 30 scallops in this pan. There's so many that they crowd, and it doesn't allow the food to breathe and to sear, and what happens is it suffocates and creates moisture, and then you lose the ability to get your sear. And this goes for anything that you're cooking, not just scallops. Another thing that's really important is leave them alone. Let them sit here. I know it's tempting, you put it in, you just want to move and toss and do all this stuff, but put them in, make sure you get good contact by pressing down, leave them be. See how I can move all these? I didn't release them from the pan. They're moving on their own. That means they're ready. So let me show you one. That's a scallop that has a beautiful Maillard reaction. Nice brown crust on it. I'm gonna do the other side. These all should be beautiful. Now the fact that I didn't crowd the pan, now all of them look nice, right? If I had tried to put 20 scallops in here, not all of them would look like that. It's really just a couple minutes on each side, but you can see how important the pan is, the heat of the pan, the cooking fat that you're using. All those tips that we went through allowed us to get this beautiful sear on these scallops. You don't want to let them sit in there too long. You could go through all the proper tips and overcook the scallops and you've ruined the meal. So you got to be sort of quick. If I'm going to make a sauce, I want these out of the pan so they don't continue to cook. All right, now we're gonna make a sauce. We're gonna make a creamy dill sauce to go with these scallops. It's gonna be delicious. So I chopped up some shallots. I have one shallot, and I chopped up 2 cloves of garlic. All right, we'll hold the dill. I just wanna move this around in clarified butter for a minute or so. Not even, I just wanna get that garlic fragrant, get those shallots translucent. All right, once we get to that point, I'm just gonna hit it with a little white wine. Once I add the wine, that's called deglazing, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm releasing what's called the fond that's developed on the bottom of the pan. So when I sear food, you get those brown bits on the bottom of the pan. That's a ton of flavor. Then we put the garlic and shallots in. That builds up more layers of flavor. I put the wine in. It releases all of it. Again, we want to season everything, so I'm going to put a little salt and pepper in here. And I have a little heavy whipping cream. I don't know, probably about a half cup or so I'm going to add. Give this a stir. Just gonna let this cook for a minute or two. The sauces come together beautifully. Always taste your food. It's not good enough for you, it's not good enough for your guests. That tastes great. That is super flavorful. I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm gonna give it a little splash of lemon. I'm gonna put our scallops back in. And now I have some fresh dill. I'm gonna sprinkle that around. Maybe save some for a garnish on top. All right, that's it. Let's plate it. See how we made out. A little fresh dill, so there's that bright green on top. Okay guys, I hope you learned something today. If you follow the rules, you take your time, and you go through all those tips, you'll be searing scallops like this, no problem. I'm gonna eat one because I can't wait one more second. That's really good. Wanna try it, babe?
Sure. Bob.
It's good, right? Oh, they're cooked perfectly.
Beautiful.
Let me show you the inside of these guys. These are cooked absolutely perfectly. You can see how beautifully tender these are, moisture in there. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Pardon me talking with my mouth full. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so you know when we put out the next recipe or cooking tip video. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.